How did all this come about that you became the angel whisperer?
So my first memory was when I was about 3 years old. I was playing in my room with my Barbies and the angels, and I got thirsty. So I came around and climbed up on the step stool to get myself a glass of water. And so my mom yells, "What's going on, Leanne? What are you doing?" I'm like, "Getting myself a glass of water, then I'm going to go back and play with my Barbies and the angels." So my mom comes in, sits down on the bed, and tells me about how God's real and Jesus is real and the angels are real, but we don't get to see them. And she told me later that she said that because I grew up in a small town in Central California, and we didn't want to be the weird people in the town. And so she said she had to start telling me that we don't get to see them when I was little.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Ask Julie Ryan Show. It's where we blend spirituality and practicality to help you live a life of purpose and joy. We have Leanne Thomas with us on the show today. Leanne's a gifted angel channel, medium, and spiritual teacher. With more than 20 years as a public school educator and 2 master's degrees in education, Leanne offers a unique blend of the practical and spiritual. I have lots of questions for her about angels, about how she connects with them, and if her angels have a message for us. Please remember to subscribe, leave a comment, and share this episode with your family and friends. Now let's go talk with Leanne. Leanne, what a treat to have you with us today. Thanks for making the time to join us.
Thank you. It's quite an honor, and it's beautiful to be here in this setting with you here today.
And happy Valentine's Day. You got the memo to wear pink. We're recording this on Valentine's Day.
I did, yes. I love Valentine's Day. So happy Valentine's Day to you.
That's right. We'll be sending lots of extra love to everybody because it's Valentine's Day, no matter when you're watching it, right? But it actually is on the day that we're talking. I love that. Are there certain angels or types of angels that you channel?
Mostly I channel people's guardian angels that are around them, but I also channel the archangels, and I do channeling sessions for people or groups of people where there are groups of archangels that step forward. So mostly those are the ones that want to help mankind. They want to promote our well-being. They're like our biggest cheerleaders, I always say.
Yeah. Guardian angels are so fun because I'd love to hear your take on this. When I first started talking with them for clients, they'd say, "Well, what's my guardian angel's name?" They'd come in with some name with like 15 letters, then they'd be all consonants. And I'd say, "How the heck am I supposed to pronounce that?" Let alone remember it. Can you give me something that's an easy to remember English name that we can use? And so then they started coming in with names that I would recognize. And at the beginning, they came in with three-letter names like Sam and Ann and Joe and things like that. Do you find my thought on that is in some instances they have perhaps languages that are dead, what we would call dead languages now, or languages from a different dimension that we don't resonate with that. Has that been your experience? What have you found?
That's exactly right. And so the angels are eons old. So they don't have English names or human names, if you will. So they are perfected souls over eons and eons of time and incarnate with us, usually even lifetime after lifetime. And so we can pick the name for our guardian angels. You are exactly right with that. Yes.
Yeah, and I found too that they don't really care what we call them. It's just when we think of them, they come in. My girlfriend's granddaughter, who was 4 or 5 at the time, her name's Willow, she said, "Does my guardian angel have a middle name?" And so we asked it. I said, "I don't know. I'd never been asked that before." So we asked it, and the guardian angel said, "If she wants me to, I do." And then she gave us a name. It was so sweet.
And they want to support us. They want to be available to us. So whatever works for us is how they want to present themselves.
Oh my gosh. We hear about archangels, guardian angels, cherubim, seraphim, all of that. Are they different types of the same species? Like you got dogs and you got the schnauzers and the German shepherds and the Irish setters and those kinds of different types of dogs. Are there different types of angels and do they have different roles that they play?
There definitely are, and they even see themselves in realms, or not that there's per se a better or thing to be. So think of a doctor, and you can have a specialist of a different kind of a doctor. Like you might go to a dermatologist or an ophthalmologist or a surgeon of some kind. And the angels aren't different than that. They have a energetic signature that guides them towards being in a certain kind of a I guess you would say more of a professional way that they can present here to us and support our journey. And so there is a hierarchy within the angelic realms, but not one better than another. Because when I want a dentist, I want a dentist. When I want an eye doctor, I want an eye doctor. And so they are different. What's interesting about them is they do have a different look. They have a different kind of energy signature and a different size even within themselves. So say like, our archangels, some of them, always show up to me huge. Sometimes they feel like they're as big as a building. And then there are other times when they come in and almost the size that we are, right? They can fill a room or they can present themselves in a way that helps us to feel comfortable and safe. Like when I was a little girl, they would come in and they would show themselves as if they were like my mommy or my daddy size.
Wow. Do they appear different like the statuary does? Archangels are depicted as Roman warriors with the swords. I think of Archangel Michael. He's depicted with a sword and a shield, and he's got the miniskirt Roman soldier outfit on and the sandals or the boots that lace up his calves, whereas guardian angels are depicted in usually in a flowy kind of a gown kind of a thing. Do they appear like that to you, like the statuary and the paintings?
When I was younger that they did, and they mostly showed up in female form in the flowy kind of dress, soft and gentle looking, so I wouldn't be afraid. When they come to me now, they look more like energy signatures, almost like a mirage on a road. So they come up into the room, they move in through electromagnetic energy, is what they said to me, present themselves in the room, and they can be shimmery or have some kind of a glow to them and a color. So they come in and I can tell sometimes who it is by the color that they are presenting. When several come into the room, you can kind of see, and people will say they feel it come into the room when I'm giving sessions or doing group events, and that their energy will combine together, and it's got a soft glow to it when it shows up now, sometimes as strong as, like, how a lava lamp can look, but they're not, uh, presenting themselves now in, like, say, masculine or feminine form, but you can feel it coming off of them. There's a feeling that comes with their energy. Just like you're in the presence of a particular space or a room, we can feel the energy of it. And that's how they also help people to feel comfortable or safe or embraced or loved when they show up as well. So their energy comes in to help me know that they're there, not just from what I see, but from what I feel as well.
When you talk about they have a certain color, do the archangels present in a certain color and the guardian angels are a different color and the cherubs are a different color? Or are each of the individual angels coming in one color and then when they merge as a group, that color becomes brightened or diluted? Can you give us more information on
Right.
that?
So if I see somebody's guardian angels, they usually just appear like shimmery or like light, like on a mirage. When archangels come in, they usually have signature colors that they come in with. And sometimes there's archangels that I don't know or familiar with. There's more than just the typical ones that we hear about, Michael and Gabriel, biblical kinds of ones. So they come in with a signature color, whether it's indigo or a soft, shimmery pale yellow. They come in with a vibration and the color connection that gives off information of who they are. But when they come in together, it's the energy is first felt and almost by everybody, and then it can have a sheen to it is the best way I think I can describe it when they're collectively coming in together, because the colors can merge, but they're not. I wouldn't ever call them cloudy or dimmed. It's bright, but it doesn't hurt the eyes when they present for us to know they're there. But they are extremely bright, and when I have dreams and they come in my dreams, they're extremely bright, but not like it would hurt my eyes, but then I'm dreaming or I'm in my spirit state myself as well.
I've heard that from several other people that they're amazingly bright, but it's not uncomfortable for the human eye.
Right, there's no, pain or damage done to, our retinas from
Thank
their
you, God.
presence.
Yeah.
Yeah, they bring in healing and information, so yeah.
Right. Let's back up a couple of steps. You've referenced a couple of times that you could see them as a little girl. Talk to us about that. How little are you the only one in your family that's seen them, or is this like a hereditary thing in your family? How did all this come about that you became the angel whisperer?
And so I didn't know about the family trait issue until I was older and came out with what was going on with me. I was a school teacher and 20 years as a school teacher, 2 master's degrees in education, loved what I did, but I always had this with me. My mom talks about it. And so, or talked about it. She passed in October. But so my first memory was when I was about 3 years old. And I know this because my sister was born, my baby sister, and I had an older brother who was at school. And so that's kind of how I've pieced exactly kind of when this happened. But um my mom always made us self-sufficient, and so I was playing in my room with my Barbies and the angels, and I got thirsty. So I came around and climbed up on the step stool to get myself a glass of water while my mom was taking care of my baby sister. And so my mom yells, "What's going on, Leanne? What are you doing?" I'm like, "Getting myself a glass of water, then I'm gonna go back and play with my Barbies and the angels." So my mom comes in carrying my baby sister, sits down on the bed and tells me about how God's real and Jesus is real and the angels are real, but we don't get to see them. And she told me later that she said that because grew up in a small town in Central California, Selma, California, raisin capital of the world, and we didn't want to be the weird people in the town. And so she said she had to start telling me that we don't get to see them when I was little. And that was my first memory. My first memory was with spirit was right after my grandfather passed away, and I was about 11 years old at that time.
So you shut it down from 3 to 11.
I don't know that I would say I shut it down. I think more that I just played with it without needing to say it. Like my mom would look at me and she would give me the look like, don't talk about that or don't say that. Um, I also know that I think some trauma triggered these things to happen that were going on. And my dad passed away when I was 2 years old, and my
Oh,
mom didn't find out until after he died that she was pregnant with my sister. And so there were things that I think led up to my gifts growing that had some trauma kind of connections to them. And it does run in the family. I have an aunt and a cousin. And when I came out, I had lots of family members reach out to me secretly to tell me that they had had experiences and things going on for them. But we were Catholic and from a small town, and you just didn't want to create more problems than you necessarily needed. And my mom was really worried that I was going to be one of those people in the family.
And isn't that so interesting? I was, raised Catholic, 12 years of school, Catholic schools, and go to church most weekends now. And I think it's fascinating that you were being told to shut that down. And there's so much of that goes on in organized religion, not just with the Catholics. And they're all about the angels and the saints and the Holy Spirit and all that stuff, and I think they do a great job
Mhm.
with little kids, giving us the foundation, the platform from which we can launch because we're taught about angels.
Yeah.
The guardian angel prayer, we're taught about different saints and
Mhm.
a Virgin Mary and the Holy Spirit and all of that. Whereas a lot of people, it's been my experience in having hundreds of people come through my training, those that don't have that kind of baseline as a small child, they're starting from a different place. And sometimes it takes them a little longer to buy into it. Has that been what you found as well?
Right. I think there's, the coming off of a lot of the trained religion that can happen so that we can own our gifts, and then I feel like there is that side, and that I feel very fortunate to have been raised Catholic that, um, opened my heart and mind to these things being true and real.
Yeah. Let's go back to the angels and the hierarchy thing again. Is there a a difference in that hierarchy where some are more revered than others? What are the different roles that the different angels play?
Well, when we look at the archangels, we know, it's very clear that Archangel Raphael helps with healing of all types. Archangel Michael or Saint Michael is known as the great protector in coming in and watching over whether it's police officers or just any of us, right? That they take on certain specialties, if you will. They have certain energy signatures that offers them that particular ability or role or specialty, I guess is a great way to put it. And we've got Archangel Haniel with her soft and gentle, and she's got healing aspects to her, and Jophiel that helps with beauty and anything to do with art and creativity, and Archangel Gabriel or Gabrielle who works with people and their ability to communicate, or the idea of the messenger, hence him or her. I think it's a female energy with Archangel Gabriel that came to Mary and let her know that she was with child. Raguel helps to balance out when we've got a problem or a dispute in the world, whether it's a lawsuit or a family problem. Raguel steps forward to help us to soften our perceptions on being right or wrong or how we see the world. And so they very much, the archangels, take on specific targeted roles to help us manage through, and they're there for the asking, and they can help a million people all at one time, and we're never bothering them.
Which is an interesting concept. How do you help a million people all at the same time? What's your understanding of that?
Well, I think that we're getting wiser about what consciousness is. And if we take the notion of time and space as being a problem in the spirit world and just something that we contend with in the physical world, then they have the ability to be everywhere all at once at any time. It is the nature of source creative energy to be expansive, and it wants to seek to support and help. The answer is always yes.
Mhm. Made in the image and likeness of God in spirit form is how I think of it.
And you are exactly right.
Yeah,
Yes.
because everybody thinks God looks like Dumbledore from the Harry Potter movies or Gandalf from the Lord of the Rings movies. Some old man like Father Time.
We're taught that a little bit though when we're kids to get our childhood minds around it, but, you and I know and through experience and what we can help and offer and open the hearts of mind of other people is to accept this idea of creative source energy that moves within it is within me always, and is always within you and everyone else that we see or meet.
I agree. So what are the guardian angels? What's their role?
Their role is to help us walk through life and not to solve our problems, but to encourage, to cheer us on, to let us know that the the essence of life is expansion. It's to learn, grow, and evolve our soul. And they're here to help us to stay that course because there are so many times that living here in our physical life, it can be difficult, challenging, can be a struggle, and we waver. We don't necessarily ever go off course per se, but we can really get our thoughts and our emotions tangled up into the pain of it all. And they're here to help shift that energy to for us to wake up to know that there is so much more than the experience on the surface of it that we're having. You know, I am Leanne and you are Julie, but we're really not. I am a me that was me before I was this Leanne. There is the essence of me. That is also, there is an essence to every angel or you or any or all of us, our beloved pets. We all have an essence to us, and that expansiveness is um, I feel like the flow of God that moves through all, that is me, that will always be me and you, and that will always be you. And if we remember that, we can be those observers. And the angels help to merge with our energy to help us become more aware and conscious that there is more to us than just this physical life.
Beautifully said. That's quotable.
Did somebody write that down?
That was quotable.
Power.
Oh my goodness, that was gorgeous. All right. How do we get a guardian angel? Is there a department in heaven where we're a new soul that's coming into being and there's somebody in the guardian angel department that says, "Okay, you go be Leanne's guardian angel." And does our guardian angel stay with us in all of our lifetimes?
Yeah. Well, yes. So the short answer to you is yes, you already know, and I know you already know.
I do.
But yeah, that's basically how it works if we're going to boil it down into very simple terms, and they do travel with us from lifetime to lifetime. They're connected to our soul.
But how do they get connected initially?
That's the assignment, I guess you could say, would be given. And there would be a wanting to be compatible to say what my energy signature was, right? And so there is a vibrational pattern match on one level or another.
Do you think that the guardian angel comes into being at the same time that our spirit comes into being? Or do you believe that the guardian angel's already a guardian angel and is waiting for an assignment to one of us?
I, how they've explained this to me is that over eons and eons of time, they're a soul like we are what soul essence is or spirit essence is at the essence of it. Boy, essence, I really oversaid that. Anyway, their essence was already in existence for eons and eons of time, and they perfected their souls to a certain degree. So if I think about it in simplistic terms, um, they evolved and they grew to have such wide and vast experiences that God came to them and said, "Would you be willing to take on the role of an angel of whatever kind at different times?" And they accept the role or the job, if you will, through their evolution. And so they've never had a human existence unless they decided to have one. So they were having existence though, over time and over time and over time, whatever that means in the existence of the ever present now, right? And so they become angelics and they have a signature vibration, and then they're compatible to different soul groups. And so within a soul group, such as myself or say others, they would connect to whatever those signature energies were and want to be supportive and compatible and be that messenger and that helpful soul that they have evolved into being.
This is just triggering a bazillion questions in my head, so hang with me. I'm glad you're a teacher. So, when you mentioned that they were different things over a different period of time, does that mean they could have been an amoeba, they could have been a dandelion, they could have been a alien on a different planet in a galaxy far, far away, and then they decided, "Okay, I wanna check it out being an angel now?" Is that your understanding?
The understanding that I have feels more to me like through early energy creation, they were having experience, and not all experiences that like they try to show or explain to me is understandable from
Right.
my human perspective.
Right. Different realities.
Right. And so different realities for sure, and an evolutionary process, but it feels more closer to source, closer to God. It feels more less tangible and more expansive. Their experiences would be different from the get-go. So could they have been an amoeba or a dandelion or something? I suppose. I haven't seen it that way, but I don't always understand the feelings are usually what they give me when they're sharing these notions with me. And one of the important things that they typically share as well is that for our guardian angels in particular, and then the hierarchy of them, and even the archangels, is that there isn't a fallen angel. You don't go backwards from, say, creative source energy as such. Now, are there darker things that exist out there? Sure. But the angels aren't fallen or become against, or there's not been a war in heaven. It wouldn't
Like
be
it
heaven
talks
if there
about
was
in
a
the
war in heaven.
Bible with
Right,
Lucifer?
right.
Tell us more about that.
And so while it's very possible that there is a Lucifer, I have never encountered the archangel known as Lucifer. I'm not saying that there isn't Lucifer Morningstar. I haven't encountered that particular energy, or maybe I have and wasn't made aware. Um, but there isn't a fallenness or a fighting with God, because source energy loves all, and there isn't this war that had happened in heaven, that where they took sides and then a hell was created, and it doesn't come across to me. I haven't experienced that. I can't say that I've experienced everything that the spirit world has to offer from my vantage point here, but that's not how it's come to me, and I can only share from what I have been given.
I agree. Same. I've been told a bazillion times, all spirits are pure love. Hell
Uh,
and all that stuff is parables. It was used to elicit fear, to control the masses over time.
right.
And,
And the idea of purgatory and those things.
yeah.
Purgatory,
Well,
I guess, is a
purgatory
place
and
higher.
limbo. Remember limbo?
Right.
Limbo was where supposedly unbaptized babies went, if they had to go to limbo. Seriously, I mean, come on. And you'll notice that limbo's just kind of fallen away, and nobody
Mhm.
talks about it anymore. Nobody really talks about purgatory anymore either.
We used to be so afraid of that. At least I did as a small child. It never resonated with me, and it
Me
would
neither.
make me fearful because it was everything that I wasn't experiencing from my connection to the angels.
Yeah. Yeah. Same thing. And I can remember being a little kid and being in church and going, "Nah, I don't buy that." And
Mhm.
my parents and my grandparents and my ancestors, all those generations of Catholics, it's like they were all brainwashed, and not just the Catholics, in every religion. They've
Right.
been they've been taught things, and it's to keep them safe. Certainly, when it was all started, and then it became a control thing, and then it centered around money in most of these instances, and But when you get down to the foundation, it's all about love. Speaking of Valentine's Day,
Right.
all yeah,
Perfect.
love is all you need, right? The song. So there's that. Okay, back to you. You said when your granddad died, you
Mhm.
experienced something at 15. Can you tell us about that?
I was 11 years old.
11, okay.
So my grandmother passed away early in the day. So the whole family was gathering together because she had had a stroke a week before. And so my aunts and everybody was coming in from out of town and staying at our house, and lots of hubbub was going on. And it was I must have been really late at night. I don't know what time it was because I was young, and I shared a bed as a good Catholic girl would with my little sister. And so that my grandfather came into my bedroom and stood right beside the bed where I was, and I knew exactly what it was, and he began to talk to me. And he said it was going to be his time. Makes me teary right now to think of it. Um,
So this was your grandfather in person or it was his spirit?
it was his spirit.
Okay, had he already passed?
He was, as far as I knew, he was still alive when I went to bed, because this was probably much, later, but it woke me up, and I remember looking at him standing there, and he was speaking to me, but his mouth wasn't moving, and I remember as a kid thinking how strange that was, and he said it was going to be his time to go, and I started to beg him not to. And I said, "I'll be a good girl. I'm gonna eat all my vegetables." I did all the things kids do, and my grandfather was very beloved. My grandmother, touch and go here and there with her, but my grandfather, very well beloved. And so he just stood there and spoke to me that it was gonna be okay, and I was gonna be okay, and that he would be there for me. And at the time, I didn't know what that meant, and I was begging so loudly in my head. And then he was gone. I heard the phone ring. My bedroom and my sister's bedroom was right across the hall from my mom and my stepdad's room. The phone rang. I could hear it because now I was awake, laying in my bed, not wanting to move, a little freaked out, right? And then I heard my mom scream and for her to drop the phone, and I knew he was gone.
No.
And he had passed away just a few hours after my grandmother. They said
Yeah.
within 12 hours. And so he went from a sudden heart attack. And um, I just knew that their love was so big for one another that that was their time to go together. And but he was the first one that I saw, and he's come to me several times. I say to fix my little wagon when I'm having a moment of disbelief or wanting to be left alone. Let me just be a school teacher and a normal girl, and he would come and he would soften things up for me. Books would come my way. He'd say, you'll know more soon." And somebody would get me a book and I would learn something more. And so he was getting me ready and conditioning me. I started having experiences, I want to say in my early 20s, where I'd be walking around somewhere, say through a restaurant, on my way, being guided by the server, the hostess, to a table. And I'd be walking by a table and I'd be like, "Oh, so sad. She wants a baby and can't have one." And I would just know things in high school about friends or things that were going on, and I just thought it was weird. Like, why do I make up stories about people in my head? Like, I just thought that, and I started to have very strange experiences in my early 30s that one thing led, to another, and this journey just really took off for me.
Can you tell us about some of those strange things? Can you give us an example of one?
Yeah, I, um worked really hard to be normal, or as normal as, as
Normal your
my normal.
definition of normal. Yeah.
Yeah, like seeing things around or things moving, and there would just be lights that go on and off, and just when I was a kid, that would happen around my mom as well, and especially if my aunt was there. But our sliding door would unlock itself and it would open. And my mom would walk over and close the door and lock it, and it would do it again. She would walk over and she'd stomp her foot and I'd hear her mumble something and she'd walk away and it would stop. We had things like that when I was a little kid. I remember waking up more than once. And in the Central Valley of California, we have what's called Thule fog, and it's really bad. That when my parents, when we were little, they would have to drive with the car door open and watch the line on the road. And if you were, out late at night at grandma's house at Christmas or something. And so I would wake up every now and then in the morning after a night and say, how come we have fog in our house? And I know now that I was walking through the veil. So those are some things, like if I got up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom and I remember I still can see it now walking through the veil. It's just a memory that lingered with me. I know what it looks like and I know what it feels like to move back and forth across the veil as that little kid. It's different in my perception of it now, but my physical eyes were seeing it as a little girl. And I think that's why I see orbs or they come around me a lot, or people will watch me on videos and say there was an orb in the video. It's just something that stuck, I guess.
Do you believe when you were little, the house in which you were living had some conductivity that helped with the energy of the spirits?
I don't know if it was the house as much as the people that were in there between my mom and myself and my aunts on my mom's side of the family. Um, it's the going in and out, having, my dad, my biological dad had, been the one that purchased that house that we stayed living in for all of those years, even after his passing. I suspect that, but he came everywhere we went because we lived for a while at my, aunt's house, and my mom and my aunt would speak about how the doorbell used to ring, and my, Uncle Marion used to, go open the door, and he's originally from Texas, and would, yell in the middle of the night at the ghosts that were ringing the doorbell, but that's their story, but I think it was everyone, all of the women, the coven that we never knew that we were,
Yeah.
that was amping the energy up, around, because kind of everywhere when we were all together, and especially, well, of course I was there because that's part of some of my memories, that that kind of amped everything up, or that's my mom's belief and my belief, and, my mom passed in October,
I'm so
and
sorry.
so thank you, we had such beautiful time together before she went so she could acknowledge what it was, and she doesn't apologize for trying to, what she would say, keep me safe, but she acknowledged how real it was, and that was, very powerful moments for me.
Did she ever tell you who she thought was coming in and out of the sliding glass door?
Yeah, it was my dad.
Oh, your dad. I had gotten that when you told the
Yeah.
story, that it
Yeah,
was your dad too.
it's my
I
dad. I
love that.
didn't know at the time, and she didn't tell me at the time, but yeah, she, before
She
her
wanna
passing.
freak you out because you were little.
Right, or any of us.
Right.
Yeah, and she didn't want it to be true. She didn't want these things to be happening, and no one ever said anything. We just went on with, like, whatever we were doing, eating my sandwich or whatever, when
So
these things were.
you thought you were cousins to the Addams family, but you just didn't know it, right? Da 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 da. Da
Yeah,
da da da.
the weird house, but
Yeah. Did
she
any of your
wanted
friends come
her.
over to your house and feel or witness any of that? Or did they save the theatrics for when it was just you guys all together, just your family?
It was just I've asked my friends, because 'cause I'm still friends with friends that I've had since childhood, and we're getting together in just a few weeks, some of us. But they don't have any memories like that, but they'll all tell me that there were times that I would say, they don't say creepy things, but they're like, "Yeah, there were a lot of times you said things." They wanna say creepy things, or you just would know things, or you just it depends on the, friends that, and their bravery with saying stuff that they remember, but nothing happened that I can recall about when anybody else was in the house except for, family, yeah.
What's your technique? And it sounds like you've kind of focused in on the angel part
Mhm,
of this spirit world. And I know that you can talk to other spirits and
mhm.
communicate with them as well, but it seems to me that your focus is pretty much on angels. What's your technique? How do you connect with them? Do you meditate for an hour first? Do you go for a walk? What do you do to connect with
I
the
am a
angels?
meditator. I started meditating before, um, thinking that this was just gonna help for my spirituality, just to kind of calm my nervous system and learn that. So this was years and years ago. I have become a meditation teacher. I was fortunate enough to study with Sarah McLean. Um, I do meditate and regularly, and I do that mostly, for having the calm nervous system based on certain things with, family trauma kinds of stuff. Not that anybody in my family is bad, it's just life, right? Um, I meditate, and that's a regular practice for me. I purposefully eat, and I purposefully work out. So I move my energy. I do love being on my back patio, looking out towards where the ocean is, and I can practically see it on a really good day with my imagination, the ocean right there, as close as I am. Um, and I'm prayerful. I do, I pray. I put myself in a prayerful position. Um, I would say my mediumship skills are more precedented and,
What do you mean by that?
prominent. I I I've that's kind of my strength and kind of where my mediumship, my connection to the spirit world, and the angels are where my comfort level was as a child, and I think they came around because of the trauma. And then I sought to cultivate it and understand it. That was where I was, most feeling safe is when the angels were around. Sometimes the spirit world, was not that it's ever creepy, but as a child, no one taught me what to understand, and there was nobody I could talk to about it. My mom had already let me know that we don't see the spirit world, and so I knew I couldn't go to her without perhaps getting in trouble or another talking to, and other things were going on in the family, but seeing spirit was, um, large and in charge in my life.
I love that because we all have the ability, I agree with you, when we're born and then we shut it down because we have a parent or a grandparent or a teacher that says, "Oh, honey, it's just your imagination." Or like your mom, we don't talk about it. And little children don't know that they're supposed to be afraid of it because they haven't seen the movies and the TV shows, The Walking Dead and all that kinda stuff. And so they don't know to be afraid of it. It's the older people, it's been my experience, are the ones who are afraid, and it's just because of what we've been taught. It's not because there are any bad spirits or evil spirits. They don't exist. I don't believe they exist. I've been doing this for 30 years. I've never seen an evil spirit. I've been told a bazillion times all spirits are pure love
Yeah.
by
They
spirit.
can be mischievous or misguided until they're supported, helped, or crossed over, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and it's normally our interpretation of their activities from a fear-based viewpoint,
Yes.
and when we're in fear, we lose clarity, and it is our perception that something is dangerous or frightening, and
And
it's
that's what the
not. It's
darkness is.
it's just different.
Yes, and that's just the fear and that the connecting to, malevolence in some way is all that it is, but it isn't necessarily yes, that's what I describe as the darkness
Mhm.
instead
So
of
So to connect with your angels, do you just think of them? Do you call in a certain angel when you're for instance, when you're working with a client or you're doing a group reading? What's your technique? What happens? How do you start? How do you engage the angels, and then what happens?
I ask for whatever they need. what does this, if I have a client, whether they're in over the phone or in person, what do they need? Who needs to show up for them? Which direction are we going for them? And so it can be between their guardian angels and the archangels, um, whoever they know, because they already know whatever that person needs. And I begin with prayer, asking not necessarily for protection, because there's nothing I'm afraid of. Um, but it's the idea of opening my energy, making, my perception wide enough to accept all that I can see, and the prayer is over that everyone receive what they need,
I love that.
and so that's how I start.
Why angels versus spirit guides? Are they one and the same? Do spirit guides advise on something different than angels do? Have you I'm sure you've contemplated that,
Mhm.
and why is it that the angels come to you more perhaps than the spirit guides? Or do they?
That's I think it's an energy signature. I do work with my guides, but I really, even after I was giving readings for a few years, wasn't sure that I had guides. I just it was I felt, disconnected from that, didn't know that I had an expectation for angels because of my connection being so little and having the experiences with them. And I feel it's my energy signature that vibes with the angelic realm. And I do have guides that I work with, and I'm very connected now. And even when I do, like, say, audience events or travel to teach classes or whatever, certain guides that show up for those particular things that are very familiar with the human experience. Um, but it's a vibration, energy, frequency, and vibration, I feel is the reason that it happened that way. I also like to say that because I was lucky and God loved me so much. So it's
That you
just
get to play with the
that I
angels
get
all the
that
time.
the angels were just there for me and protecting and watching over, but, it's really true for everyone, but it's just, like, my fun way of thinking about it, that way.
What I've heard 4 times while you've been talking about this answer is you've been chosen. You've been chosen to communicate with the angels because you're an educator. You distill it down into understandable languaging that anybody can grasp,
Right.
and it's your lane. You can access the other ones, but it's your lane to teach us about the angels. Does that resonate with you?
It really does, and thank you for putting it that way, and maybe that's why you're so good at what you do, because you know how to bring it around for all of us, for sure. I mean, chosen, yeah, and, probably in some way, I agreed to it before incarnating.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, yeah. That that, guardian angel dispatching office that picked your guardian angel, they're like, "Yeah, now this one's gonna be teaching people about guardian angels, so we need somebody who can do this." You mentioned earlier that the angels are very eager to help us, and I've heard from several people that they give their angels assignments. We all know about the parking spot angels and
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
angels that appear in times of need, and then somebody goes to thank the person who kept them from stepping in front of a car, and that person is not there anymore. They've seemingly disappeared. How does that work? How do we ask the angels for help? And is there anything that they can't help us
Right.
with or on about?
Let's start with that. They can't help us not learn the lessons we were supposed to learn. We must go through that. They can't take away challenges or struggles, but it's also our perception or labeling of something as negative or bad that creates it to be a challenge in some way or dissatisfying. So they can't get in the way of our growth, our soul's journey, or our soul's path. And they don't see things as being negative. They can see things for us as being challenging. So they'll guide us how to get through things are challenging by putting a book in our path or the right person. It's important that we stay cooperative to how they're guiding us to get through whatever challenge it is. So far be it for me to tell a mother that's lost a child that, oh, it's all okay, it's part of your soul's journey. And, of course not. And just calling your guardian angels and they'll get you a book or something. No, but it's that the delicate dance that they do of navigating one little step at a time in front of us based on whatever that challenge is, or however they know that our disposition on any given moment can be fixed or stuck. Or, how we can just have, this is too hard for me, I can't do this. And nope, you can get to it one step at a time. It's like if you're going to write a book, and I know you know this, Julie, because you have several books out there that are all really good, that you just one page at a time, sometimes one sentence at a time, thinking of one concept through it at a time. And they're right there to help point us in the direction, but it's our job to walk that path. They like to collaborate on our behalf. And so they'll collaborate with our guides or people in an effort that we're at the right place at the right time to hear just the right message. I'm sure you've experienced this where you're thinking about a friend and they call you, right? Or you get that email.
Happened this morning.
Of course it did,
Yeah.
right? And so when
Twice.
you're
Happened
compatible.
twice. Yeah.
You're in alignment with having those things be showing acceptable to you, so they show up for you. You're not saying that that's just a coincidence. Well, okay, let it be a coincidence, but there's more to it. Your soul and somehow needed that moment with that friend, or that friend needed you and you were there for them.
I agree.
Fun.
Let's pivot for a second. I want to get into the teacher thing. 2 masters because you just
Mhm.
were bored, or you just wanted all that alphabet soup at the end of your name, or what?
Well, I think I was running a little bit from what was going on with me.
Okay.
And so, my story is that, I got my first master's degree, and so I could be a better teacher, right? And I didn't know enough,
What
and,
did you teach? And what grade?
my first year of teaching, I taught kindergarten.
Oh,
And so I started off as a kindergarten teacher, absolutely loved it, taught first grade. And then I became that reading specialist. And I had a principal that really fostered me, like took me under her wing in some ways. And we traveled around and we studied different kinds of fabulous techniques throughout the state of California in teaching stuff. And she put me in charge of new teaching projects, nominated me for Teacher of the Year. And I became a reading specialist in my school district, and then I ended up getting connected to who is now my husband. And we went to high school together, but we didn't get together until later and moved. And so I started over in a different school district, but the same kind of trajectory happened. Got connected to a group of other people, and we went into a master's degree program together at the same time that my mediumship started taking off.
that's what I wanna hear about is how do they align the 2? What skill sets do you use from your teaching in the school system and how you're working with clients and teaching now? I know they're all merged together. Are you cognizant of that and how they have merged together?
I'm yes, I nodded. My mom would used to say, like, "Are you crazy? Like, you work so hard to get where you are in your educational career. Now you're gonna come out as a crazy?" And, I just didn't have a choice. I guess when God comes calling, you can't say no to God. Who can say no to God? But I do use those talents whether I'm teaching classes or I'm helping clients through, their struggles. But I was getting that second master's degree, and I just started getting really into blog talk radio that was out, and they had psychics. I mean, it was taboo, and I secretly listened to those things. And I went to the library as a good teacher would anyway, and I'd go through the section on psychics and medium stuff, and grabbed every Sylvia Brown book that I could find in the library and was secretly reading them in the kept them in my little drawer, and as an avid reader as I was, and I was having experiences with the spirit world. One thing led to another and got connected. A famous medium kind of founded me, took me under her ring, and took her classes, and she offered different things to me. And so I'd go and take courses, and I just became a student of mediumship so I could understand what was going on with me. Quite frankly, the first class I took, I went to take so that I could decide if I was crazy and needed help or if this was a real thing. And it turned out to be a real thing. And it just seemed like every time I turned around, I literally would get phone calls from different spiritual people that I had just kind of come across, never even had a reading with this one lady, called me up on the phone, didn't know her in person at all, and said, "Would you be willing to take my class?" And I remember sitting there thinking like, "Yes." So I just couldn't say no to that.
Yeah. You were being led, darling. That's what they
Really
say here in the
was.
South. Yeah.
I was being led, and I went a little bit kicking and screaming. I really just didn't go into it, thinking that I could make a living, and so at first I didn't. I was reading for people and not charging a single dime for it, and people started leaving me money, and people would say, "You need to charge for this," or I'm sending my cousin, I'm sending this person," and they would just come and they would tell each other just to leave me some money, and then I would I had to set something up to charge, and then over time, my husband said, "You have to decide." You have to decide, are you gonna stay teaching, or you says, "We gotta do something sometimes besides you working." It's how he saw it. And so, together we sat down and, made a plan for me to do this work, full time and make something of it, and I've been very blessed to be able to say that I do that, and very quietly do my thing, kinda stay in my own little corner, but I have such a love for helping people wake up to spirit, teaching a free class to help people with their intuition and grow it right now so that no one has an excuse not to empower themselves through this and these changing times that are quite challenging for so many people. And I just want to be helpful in this world. And I think I love mediumship. I love helping people connect. And it's wild to me. I know it's to you because I've watched some of your interviews and how you are just pleased as punch when the evidence comes through and that person has the light bulb moment and they know that their loved one is right there beside them because they saw them go to the dentist yesterday or listen to how they were looking for the Rolex watch that no one could find, or literally did see for one person how there was a can of money buried in the backyard.
Mhm.
Was funny because they had already found it the day before, but that it got mentioned in a session, like it's the things that spirit can do to help us all know that we are more than these physical bodies.
Well, and every medium that I know, everybody in the woo-woo space that I know, all, myself included, we all thought, "Okay, we're interested in this. People are gonna think we're nuts
Yeah.
if we come out of the closet on it," and we do it anyways because we're being led, and so we go over that fear, we jump over that hurdle, and then and then another roadblock comes in, and we go around it, or we go under it, or we go over it, and then when we think about it, we think, "God, I can't believe I did that," and nobody in their right mind would do that, but I'm so glad that I did, and I completely resonate with that, and every medium that I know has a story like that. It's like they can't help themselves. I'm an entrepreneur, I can't help myself. You're a teacher.
Yeah.
You couldn't help yourself. You were led to be a teacher. You went down that trajectory, and
Mhm.
it's very obvious to me why the 2 merged together
Yeah.
with you. Do your angels have a message for all of us that are watching and listening?
They do, and One of the things that they really want for people to understand is that I have my story and what brought me to this, and you have your story, but everybody has the ability to connect to their loved ones themselves in the spirit world. Maybe not necessarily give readings because we need doctors to be doctors and all of the other kinds of things. But that we all do have this gift within. We all do have the ability to trust our gut instinct, to tap into it and tune in, tap in, and move on and move forward so that we can live our best lives and that we can all be part of this collective consciousness shift and change that's happening right now in the world. We're not going to get away from it. There's new energy coming to the planet at this time. And so the more we begin to embrace it, like you do, opening so many people's hearts and minds by being so public and getting these things out to so many people, will be very comforting and a direction to go when things really get difficult, and whether it's our personal lives or we see things happening within the world. I believe that the world is becoming a more beautiful and blessed place. But on the way there, we're going to be experiencing more earth changes and things happening. We don't need to be afraid of it. And that's what you give. You give that piece of not being afraid, even in the face of things that are very difficult. So thank you.
Oh, same right back at you, babe. And we've got to shatter the old in order to make room for the new to come in,
Yes.
is what
Yes.
I think of. You
Let's
can't
do it.
fill a bucket that's already full of something with
Right.
something new. You got to empty the old out of the bucket. And then you get amazing new stuff that has the opportunity to come in. Last question. Why do we incarnate?
Mm. I think simplistically speaking is grow and evolve our souls for experience to take back to creative source energy. So I believe that God sees through my eyes the perspective that I have, and mine's unique to me and only to me and yours to you. And so God would be experiencing what it would be like to be alive through this narrow perspective that is, say, Leanne or Julie or anybody else. And that experience grows all and it connects all. So I believe we come to have experience for God.
Beautiful. You're remarkable. You're darling. You're so good at communicating the complex and simplifying it in order for anyone to understand it. And I love that you taught kindergarten and first grade because, in some ways, you're distilling it down to that level, which is so perfect because then everybody can understand it. So well done, my girl. You're extraordinary. How can people learn more about you and your work?
My website is angelichope.com, and I have a YouTube channel with lots and lots of wonderful free things on there, meditations. The class I'm currently teaching will be there eventually. So my YouTube is Leanne Thomas. You can find me on both Facebook and Instagram as Leanne Thomas Medium. But my website is Angelic Hope.
All righty. We will put that in all of the show notes. In the meantime, we're sending you lots of love from Sweet Home, Alabama. Mwah!
Yeah,
And
thank you.
from California, too, where Leanne is. Happy Valentine's Day. It will have been past by the time this comes out, but lots of love to everybody. And thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
To enhance your spiritual journey, click on one of the videos below and remember to subscribe, leave a comment, and share with your family and friends.